everyone, this is Liz with The Restless Wild, and thank you so much for joining me for my February 2021 bullet journal plan with me. So this month, of course, we have Valentine's Day, and while I'm not typically the type of person who's super romantic or sentimental, I was digging through my scarves drawer recently and found a whole bunch of vintage handkerchiefs from my grandmother, and that and a few other things were somewhat inspiration for this month. Just because I wanted to be able to show you all what some of the inspiration was in person. One of them was this handkerchief with red lace, and another one that was with purple lace on the edge, a floral sort of one, another floral that is more yellow. I just love all these scalloped edges from these vintage handkerchiefs. And then one that is just absolutely ridiculously over the top Valentine's. It's got hearts and a rose. I mean, can it be any more Hello February Valentine's than this? So, to put that together and really tie it in with a theme that kind of goes with this vintagey, romantic kind of feel, I added in pearls. Yay, pearls! So yeah, so I'm pretty excited to show you all how my vintage Valentine handkerchief and pearls sort of theme turns out. So let's go ahead and get started. So once again, I am using my Archer and Olive A5 Night Sky Blank Pages notebook. And before we get to February, let's go ahead and do a quick flip through of January. So I've got my Celestial Navigation cover and habit tracker, my At a Glance and my mood tracker that was all Celestial Navigation instruments, my December retrospective and focus and intention for the month, my January goals all organized by my core values that I set up in my annual goals, January work deliverables, which is noticeably blank because I'm actually moving to a new job, woohoo! And then my weeklies. So I've got week 2 and my goals. Oh, I had a tracker for yoga with Adrienne since I was working on that 30-day challenge. I started late. Week 3 weekly and goals. Week 4 and my goals for that week. And I did do a work deliverable for that week as well as a quote page just to have fun. And I wanted to show you all my dailies because I do not decorate my dailies much at all. Like, I keep them super minimalist, and I just think that's important to say, hey, you don't always have to have the perfect decorated bullet journal. You know, it can be super simple. All right, and jumping right into February. So we have this vintagey Valentine handkerchiefs and pearls sort of thing going. So I wanted to get a really pretty romantic script. So I am starting off my February cover page with that. Then a little bit of a flourish just for kicks and giggles. And then I am going to start with a few strands of pearls. I am going to discover though that my pen is going to run out of ink. Oh, look at that. It looks terrible now. Oh, it's okay. I decided it's fine. I'm going to make do. I pulled out a fresh set of Micron pens and just kept going. And I also decided that I'm going to keep this theme super sketchy. So I'm not going for these perfect circles. I really do want it rough and sketchy and jagged around the edges, and that's totally fine because it's hand-drawn and it's my bullet journal and I can make it look however I want. So just going for some of the more decorative handkerchiefs. I was definitely pulling out a few of the ones that I had. I have several others besides the one that I showed in the intro. So I was just kind of going through handkerchiefs that was in my pile and going, oh, this one's pretty, I'm going to do this one. And putting a little bit of embellishment for floral design on this handkerchief. This was based on the yellow handkerchief that I showed. And then the really over-the-top hearts at Valentine's handkerchief, which I just find it's ridiculous. It's funny because I don't necessarily think of myself as you know, having super girly designs or anything, but I was like, let's go for it this month. Why not? And then setting up my habit tracker, putting in the text, the font and typeface, similar to what I use on the cover page. And the ruler. I hate using the ruler, but I also feel like I should have straight lines if I'm making videos. Does anyone else feel pressure that you need to make it pretty if anyone's ever going to see your bullet journal? For the record, you should not feel pressure. Like, it's your bullet journal. Do what you want. It does not need to be perfect. Maybe I'll go back to not using the ruler because I really hate using it. There's just, you don't get the line thickness with the ruler when you're tracing next to it. At least I don't, because it just kind of cuts into the micron nib. And yeah, it also just takes more time, which is why we're cutting ahead. Isn't it magical being able to edit something and, oh, hey, look, you don't have to watch all of this boring bits. So fast forward to, hey, we're getting this done. Add in a few hearts and put in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Oh, by the way, who else is a Monday start and is super excited about the perfect February calendar? Just me? I'm sure it's not just me. And putting in a little bit of extra lines to fix where the ink was drying up. And oh, so this is a trick that I learned. Setting up your calendar, if you do it manually, start with 1/8/15/22 and then the last date of the month, just to make sure you are on the right day for each of them, and then you can go back and fill in the rest of the dates. It makes things a lot easier when you're numbering your calendars. And then just a little bit of line detail to give it a tiny bit of dimension while still keeping it super line art, kind of cartoony, very much coloring book. I will probably go back and add in color over the month, because that's what I ended up doing with January. And it was actually super fun to have my own adult coloring book that I could play in. If I was like, oh, I don't feel like drawing something new, I could go in and add color. And I've got this washi tape from Rifle Paper Company, which I really like. I always like washi tape, and then I'm really hesitant to use it just because I'm, you know, pen and paper kind of gal, and that's about it. But went ahead and added that in, and so you will see that make an appearance again later. And setting up my at a glance, so keeping with that super romantic script again, and adding in some flourish that I'm gonna work my lines around. Rollers. One of these days I'm gonna go back to my jagged little hand-drawn lines. And week 6, 7, 8, and 9 are on the docket for February. Woohoo! And my mood tracker. So since it was strands of pearls or strings of pearls, I got cute and said strung out. I do like to have really cheesy puns for my mood trackers when I can think of them. They're usually very bad. I acknowledge that, but that's okay. I usually do a really ornate mood tracker, but I just went with something a little simpler this month. So it's just strands of pearls, and each pearl is numbered, and I will color in the pearls. So it's not like a big ornate cartoon for each day. It's just a lot simpler. And adding in various strings of pearls and a few of the handkerchiefs. To give it a little more interest, I did make sure I was switching up the size of pearls, so a few really big strands, a few medium-sized strands, so like the circles were just different on each strand. That way it just gives it some dimension and interest. So one thing that I'm really fascinated about with these vintage handkerchiefs is some of them are so delicate. First, I'm curious, were they always delicate, or are they super transparent and delicate now because they're antique? And secondly, how did people take care of these super decorative handkerchiefs, like with all these dangles and frills? I don't know. I'm the type of person who's like, it goes in the washer and then goes in the dryer, or maybe it gets line dried. And if it requires much more care, it does not get taken care of. But I can appreciate having something pretty and frilly and high maintenance. Basically, this is high maintenance. And as usual, I am setting up a spread for a retrospective for the past month. I find this extremely helpful because when I'm looking at my goals for the last month and also just looking at the month in the past, I just want to make sure that I am taking into account what actually happened that month, give myself credit if there are setbacks, or how do I work around those setbacks and be more proactive next time. So I'm just splitting up the what went well, what didn't go well, and how to improve questions with a few strands of pearls, so that way I've just got some separation on the page. And the little labels on all of the handkerchiefs. With hearts. I'm big into hearts this month, apparently. And setting up the focus page so that I can have a intention. I can set an intention and have a focus for the month. It's kind of like having a word of the year, but having a word of the month. Or just having a word or a couple of phrases that really set the tone for the upcoming month. Things I want to be especially mindful of, or priorities I want to focus on. Things that I need to give special attention to. Oh, washi tape. Look at that. Oh, color. What is this color? Anyways, moving on. February goals. Working from left to right, again with the fancy script. I was looking for something that was going to be like Valentine vintage love letter sort of script. So as I was looking for typeface inspiration, I was really thinking about that, and like, you know, war letters or long distance romantic letters, things like that. My grandmother, who I got these handkerchiefs from, was originally from Germany and immigrated right before World War II. So that's kind of what I was thinking about. I was like, oh, love letters. And then setting up the goals page, strands of pearls, and some more of the fancy handkerchiefs. I made up a few monograms on some of the handkerchiefs too, just because I could. And a little bit of washi tape just for some color. Nothing too crazy. And then setting up my work deliverables page. I decorated this a little more than I have in the past, mostly because, as I mentioned earlier, I am switching jobs this month, which is both exciting and terrifying. Exhilarating. It's exhilarating. I've been at my job I've been at my current company for 8 years. I've done a few different jobs there, but I've been here for 8 years, so it's kind of crazy jumping ship. But it seemed like a good time to change. But since I don't actually expect that I will have a lot of work deliverables that I have to write down for this month, I figured I would take up more space with decoration than I usually do. Ah yes, the frilly handkerchiefs. and some floral designs and hearts. Ta-da. And then I do have a quote page that I put in. And so it says, "A pearl is a beautiful thing that is produced by an injured life. If we had not been wounded, if we had not been injured, then we will not produce the pearl." And this is from Stephen A. Heller. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Heller? Heller? If you pronounce it in German way, it's Heller. It's O-E, which means the O is umlauted, which makes it sound like it's a German name. The guy is actually from, I believe, Hungary. Philosopher sort of guy. But this is a common sentiment that you will see in a lot of quotes about pearls, but this was just succinct compared to lots of others that were not so succinct. Alright, so, woohoo! Final flip through. We've got the February cover page and habit tracker. Alright, antique handkerchiefs and pearls. We've got the at a glance and my mood tracker, strung out. My January retrospective page and a focus page. My February goals spread. A page for work deliverables and a quote page. So I'll probably add color to this over the month, but it is always fun to have kind of that coloring book style for me to go back and mess with. And thank you so much for joining me for February, and I look forward to seeing you again in March. Thanks! Bye!